Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 3 of the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. Now, when was the last time you checked out the Kit's Cross-Channel Marketing Suite? This is your full-on marketing tool set, starting with Loop CRM to help keep you organized, the most personalized and effective direct mail newsletters, email newsletters, websites, social media content, our super easy 3-click landing pages, complete with automated action plans, and so much more to help you manage your business, generate more leads and more referrals, and build that mindshare to drive even more sales. You can learn more on my site, mindshare101.com, by clicking on Marketing. And as you know, we are on a push to get to 100 reviews on iTunes, and so I'd like to ask you, if you haven't yet, please take 2 minutes, go to iTunes, rate the show, and leave a review. And we've added an extra incentive for you. For everyone who leaves a review, you are being entered into a draw to win 1 year of free group coaching, valued at over $500. It really is that easy. And of course, let me say thank you in advance. Today's episode is number 154. As a former television news anchor, she has helped thousands of people share their story unapologetically. After she left the news industry, she found her calling to support coaches and consultants and gain confidence on camera using their authentic voice to build their authority online through the number one secret that she learned as a former television anchor. Her secret to her success is pairing that confidence on video with a high-end social media strategy to attract your dream clients. This week on the show, I am joined by on-camera confidence consultant, Molly Trotter. Molly, welcome to the Mindshare Podcast.
Thank you, David. Super excited to be here.
Oh my God, totally excited to have you. I'm glad we connected. And you know, this sort of proves the power of social media, right? You're all the way in Orange County, California. I'm up here in Toronto, Ontario. We have connected through Instagram, have chatted and had some fun on those conversations and decided, hey, let's do this, right?
That's right.
It's cool to have you here today.
I love using social media for good and meeting people like yourself because, again, we're many miles away, but here we are.
Yeah, well, we use kilometers up here, though. No.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Conversions, my bad.
Tell me this. What's reading the bio out and doing some, background and sort of getting prepared for today. I was curious to know, and just based on, I actually just read it off in the bio, but so what is that number one secret that you learned as a TV news anchor?
Ooh, you want to start off with
I got to dive right into that. I'm like, I got to hear this one. This sounds juicy.
The nugget. Okay, so the number one secret is so this is what everybody loves to do. I'm going to start with that. They love being able, when they're on social media, here's my highlight reel, here's my business, here are the results, here's, everything you need to know on how I make money, which is great. But the number one secret I learned is you got to let people in on the journey and let them get to know you. And that's the part where people really pump the brakes. They say, but if they get to know me, are they really going to like me? I don't know. They don't want to be rejected. They're fearful people are going to think all those types of things. But that's the number one secret. When you allow people in on your journey, whether you've quote unquote made it or not. I remember we joked when I got on this and we were testing it out earlier, the plant that I have in the background, David goes, is that a stack of money you have back there? I'm like, people probably would do that these days. And I'm not about the hype. I'm not about showing what we call the mansions and the Lambos. It's like, let your personality speak for itself. And that's the number one secret. And that's what people really want to see. They want to be able to know, like, and trust you. And just because you have results in your business doesn't mean they want to do business with you.
I like it. You know what? That is powerful. I like it. And it's amazing because people would read that off, and as I did, and sort of go, okay, got to know. And you just brought a complete sense of logic. You brought the whole thing right back down to earth there of you got to really get past that. I want to talk more about that because that's really the whole big thing today, right? Like, we're going to be talking here about pairing video and social media together to attract your dream clients. And so as we talk about, people or being comfortable with who you are and really showing, the back end and not just the successes, but that, give us some background. Outside of what I read off, and I mean this with love, but who are you? What did you do? And what do you do on the daily? Like, what's your thing out there right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I was a former news anchor and reporter, and I really got into that to tell people stories. Everybody has a voice, but not everybody knows how to use it. So I utilize that big platform, right? Of like, okay, how can I share the underdog story? And quickly I found out that the news has a completely different agenda. Every time I wanted to be like, okay, here's a really good feature. This is something, that people would want to see. They're like, no. Doesn't have death, destruction, just all of that garbage. And I'm like, okay. So it quickly like popped off at me. I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is going to be my forever home. But I was in that industry for 5 years. I learned so much about it. And what I was really happy to also get on top of that is that's when social media really started to boom, building a personal brand, getting on Facebook, Instagram, and here's Molly, take it or leave it. Doesn't matter if you like me or not. This is who I am. You get to decide, and bringing people again along in that journey. So when I got out of the news, I was really great at branding myself on social media. So I started helping other people do the same, pairing with the things that I learned from the news of having confidence on camera, speaking with clarity, those pieces right there, which a lot of people get really hung up on. That's what I get to do now. So on the day-to-day basis, I really get to be able to serve, whether it's groups, individuals, of how can they get more confidence on video, on camera, really sharing the real, bold, and authentic voice. And then pairing that with the social media strategy, like Instagram is what a lot of people come to me for because it's a very leveraged platform. Videos, reels, entertainment, education, just really good features in order to show a full, just lineup of here's who Molly is or here's who you are. So showing people how to do that, not only market themselves accurately, building their authority, building their credibility, but then also how do you get it out there and have that convert into clients and people that you actually want to work with? Because again, the number one secret, it's not all about the results. The results are important. People want to know that piece, but they also want to know, do I want to go to dinner with this person? Would I want to hang out with them if we're in the same area? Do I like them? Do I trust them? Do they feel authentic? That is really, really key. So that's what I get to do on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, I absolutely love it.
So, and I mean, on camera confidence, and this is an interesting one because again, for years, and I know I've been presenting on the topic of video for a number of years. I remember when I first started my videos back in the day, and it was like, you just kind of dive into it, right? And I look back at a lot of those videos and I certainly do not like the way I sound, do not like the way I look, do not like the production of it. I can't believe I did it. I know that I've got videos that I've been on stages at like, doing keynotes, and I'll play some of those videos and do it very much on purpose just to get a laugh out of the audience, right? And you can see they all start laughing and you're like, you're laughing at me? And they start laughing more. You've just become authentic, right? You've just become very, very real. And, when we look at our audience now in terms of salespeople and really specifically people within the real estate industry, be it, realtors, mortgage brokers, loan officers, these people are professionals. And as part of our message every day, we're working to encourage everybody here. And for everybody tuned in right now, I'm working to encourage you. And that, get on camera. Yet so many people are so shy of it. And all of those fears come out, right? I'm not comfortable with the way I sound. I'm not comfortable with the way I look. I'm not comfortable with, the way I did my hair or the way I did my makeup or the shirts that I'm wearing. And some even like, just flat out say they just don't believe in video being even like a necessity for their business. So I guess why is it so important? And I mean, I think we've kind of said it about the authenticity, but maybe expand on it a little bit. Like, why is it so important for everybody to embrace video now?
I love this question. Well, number one, studies are out that it's I believe it's over 7 hours a day at this point that people are watching videos online on their phones. So why not yours? 7 hours a day.
Wow.
Like that's almost like a full-time job. Isn't that crazy to think of how much we're watching videos? So why not have that be yours? And then the biggest key that I've learned, especially with working alongside other real estate professionals, whether you're an investor, you're a broker, you're an agent, all the above, is obviously you got into that business for a number of different reasons, but you have to be a people person. And a lot of them are high performers where they're like, okay, I have so much going on up here in my mind. How do I categorize what I'm going to say in order for it to come out and even make sense to really build the authority and the credibility? That's the number one key that I have heard from people in the real estate industry is, okay, I see what you're saying, but like, I got so much going on. It's just like kind of you short circuit and you forget it all. You're like, I don't even know where to go. Well, I teach people how to categorize those thoughts into what's called 3 pillars when it comes to their online brand of getting on their Instagram or their Facebook. And when it comes to what you're sharing, here's 3 main categories that you want to speak about, whether that is, here's for an example, financial freedom, maybe entrepreneurship and wellness. Those are really 3 3 easy categories. From there, in each column, entrepreneurship, what do you want to talk about? Financial freedom, what do you want to talk about? Now you're getting those topics. And then I carry this everywhere I go, a pen and a sticky notepad. And
you still use a pen?
I still use it. I know, right? Or
I think it's the weapon that any salespeople needs to have on them at all times. I don't care if you got your phone, you can take notes here. You must have one of these on you. Period.
Yes, you got it. You have to. There's so much you can do on a phone, but there's also just a lot of studies show if you go pen to paper still, it's just a different connection point. Things stick.
Well, it's even the way it comes out of your brain, right? It starts to actually like stick on paper. Now it all of a sudden became real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when it comes to sharing a video, for example, back to the 3-pillar piece, once you get, okay, here's my topic in entrepreneurship. I want to talk about having a business I can do anywhere. I'm going to write 3 bullet points on what it is that I want to talk about. When it's time for me to record that video or go live, I'm like, okay, I got to do the dishes, or what if the doorbell rings, or shoot, I have to go get the mail, or what if the dog comes in, or if you have kids and they're at home because it's a stay-at-home type of deal right now, what if they walk in? And so you got to have these protection layers of like, all right, I got to stick to my notes so you don't go all over the place. But to that point, it's just all about that clarity piece and being able to boil down all the information you have in your brain and compartmentalize it of like, okay, here are the 3 bullet points I want to talk about at this point. And when you do that and you speak, really efficiently, clearly, because you only have 3 points, then people are going to be like, wow, I got a lot out of that. This person's really intelligent, and it's instantly going to boost your authority and credibility in the space because of how clear you communicated that information. So if you guys caught that, there's a little strategy in there for you to take, go do it yourself. And it'll really help you categorize how you want to share things on your social media.
So we talk about social media. I think it almost goes without saying like why you need to be integrating video into your social media strategy, right? It's just one of those where, again, it helps you become more authentic. It helps people really get to see the real you. It helps them hear you, see you, feel you in a different way rather than just a static photo, which maybe doesn't share as much. Now, as we talk about a social media strategy, I mean, I guess I'm going to ask kind of two things in here, but why do we need a social media strategy, and what are we ultimately trying to accomplish? Or again, did we just kind of talk about that of like letting people in?
Why do we need a social media strategy? First of all, you have to be able to set up consistency. And what do you want to get out of it? Like, why are you if you're just getting on social media just because everybody else is doing it, it's not going to work for you.
No, and I'll tell you this, I love that you brought this story. I love that you brought that up. Oftentimes what's happening here is there's a lot of people that are just getting on there and they're spending every waking moment on there, and then they lament and they're like, well, yeah, business is slow. Yeah, you need to do something else rather than just be on every single post that goes out there. And for those of you that are that person, I'm talking to you right now. Now, outside of that, though, when you look at that, there's other people that are on there that are going, well, I want to generate a lot of business from it, right? I want to drive leads from social media. They just go and spend money on it without actually thinking about the organic side of things, which is really where the questions stem from. Having that strategy, that's not even spending money right now. That's being involved.
Yes. And so many people, I love that you brought that up. So many people are so quick to go pay somebody to go do it. But do you even know what they're actually going to be doing? You have to set up the foundation first. If you don't have the foundation, just like in a home, if the foundation is trash, like the rest of the home is not going to be in a good standing. Mm-hmm. So you have to have that foundation, which starts with the organic strategy. What do you want people to see when they come to your page? How consistent are you going to be? Are you more of a funny person, a sincere person? Like, what is that? Show some personality in there, because people want to have that factor of like, the worst thing that can happen is if you're one way on social media and they meet you in person and you finally are able to meet up and they want you to, buy or sell or help you sell their home, for example. And then they're like, oh, like you're not the same. That we do not want. So be willing to share who you are, but you have to come up with that organic strategy of like, what am I committed to? What do people want to see when you come to my page? So then if you do want to pay somebody to do it, social media manager, maybe eventually run ads or whatever it is your cup of tea is, you have to have something that's there, because then okay, this is where I want it to go. Don't just leave your future, your business future, your revenue in somebody else's hands because you don't want to take time to learn it.
And that's a lot of times what it comes down to is the time, right? We complain about time. I don't have the time, so I'm going to have somebody else do it. I'm like, okay, wait a second. For what you're going to have them do, you probably could have done it for free. But because you didn't have the time, you decided to pay somebody, which, sometimes we understand from delegating and having, bringing people on to help us. But there's something else to be said about that, is that if you just schedule the time properly, you could probably get the same stuff done, not spend the money, And O, if you're going to go spend that money, you got to go make that money, which means you got to invest time to make the money that you just paid to have somebody do something for you that you could have done for free. To me, it's all ass backwards. There's a lot of ways to leverage this thing and do it for either like low cost or no cost.
Yes.
Now, as you talked about, because I mean, again, as I was reading through this thing, what is a high-end social media strategy?
High-end. There's a lot of... That's a great question in order to put it into words. I don't think anybody's actually ever asked me that. Okay. So when I say high-end, it's intentional. And also to be able to attract high tickets. So if you're finding somebody like, I work with a lot of online consultants and coaches, for example, and they'll have programs that are, $10,000 plus. How do I find those people on social media? Well, they're not scrolling around looking for you. They're busy. If people are making multiple 6, 7, 8 figures, they're not sitting there in the scroll hole, maybe late at night when they're done with their day. But how do you go intentionally get in front of them? So being able to set up something that is like a show like I have on my Instagram. I've helped a lot of people set up a live Instagram show, how to really be able to leverage their content, or maybe it's a podcast that they go pitch to. But being able to have something where you can showcase people in their zone of genius, the value that they have. That's one strategy that a lot of people come to me for because they, love the connection, the interview factor. And then you really can get to know somebody on the back end, as well as obviously what you see on their profile. And who doesn't want to be featured? Who doesn't want to be like, oh, hey, here's my, the value that I have to bring. Here's my area of expertise, all of that. But then on the back end, it's like just at the end of the day, if I can boil it down to one word, it's intentional. So high end / intentional is what I would put in there. Just because a lot of people it's like the spaghetti, like throwing against the wall strategy. We're just going to see what sticks and that's the one. No, we don't want to play like that. You're going to put content out there consistently. That's great. How are you going to go intentionally search for people on the back end? So there's a lot of different strategies through hashtags, through searching for ideal referral partners, setting up a show, like I mentioned. And it really just depends on what that person's area of expertise is to figure out what's going to be a good fit for them. But hopefully that answers your question. It's all about being intentional rather than just showing up and saying that's enough. I'm going to attract the people that want to work with me.
Yeah, I think I think that a big question a lot of people have is around how to create that social media strategy if they're not on social on a regular basis. And again, one of the things we deal with is around the fear and around the unknown, around the what if and what are people going to think. And I mean, same things like getting on camera. There's the same fears. And whether I'm getting on camera or I'm just going to post something up to the world, what are they going to think of me? And so we see that a lot. And when it comes to, again, the strategy around social, whether it's intentional, whether it's high end, whether it's just having the strategy, the reality is this is part of our world today. So it is a matter of like, even if you're not going to think it through as this big business plan and this big, like, we're going to do this. It's like, hey, are you out today? Yes. Can you snap a picture on your phone? Yes. Great. Take that photo and post it to social. Well, why? Let people into who you are, right? That's a big one. Now, on that same breath, I would say, switching from the social media for a moment and looking at Zoom, and I'll use Zoom as a big overarching, whether it's any of the many platforms that are now available to be able to do these types of things. So many people are taking part in these meetings these days, be it from a conference, be it from an internal meeting, from their office or whatever it is, but never turning on their camera. They never turn on the camera. What is your message to people like that?
Well, the first question I have is why? Why? Oh, well, I have this going on, or I'm not ready, or I'm not this and that. Okay, let's address the first thing. I have a lot going on. Well, why? Yep. Why are you on that meeting, and why are you not focused as to what's right in front of you? Because that needs to be priority, first and foremost. Because when the camera's on, people can see you. You're going to be paying attention. You're not going to be fiddling around with this, that, and the other thing. You
mean you can see when I'm scrolling Facebook right now while you're talking or on my live podcast? You can see that? Oh, yeah, no, exactly. I'm just going to turn my camera off. This way I don't have to pay attention to you.
And then it's also with respect to the speaker. I mean, this person's taking their time to present to you something that's of importance. You took the time to say, yes, I'm going to be on this meeting. Give them some respect and don't just give them a wall to talk to. Because if they see just a wall of pictures, imagine if, when speakers on a stage, which I know you speak a lot on stage, David, like when you're talking to an empty room, like the energy is dead. It is a lot harder to talk to an empty room than you can with, some people in it. So turn on your video, have it be lively. But then the third piece, which is, again, people are like, oh, I don't like the way I look. Well, how are you pouring into how you're presenting yourself today? I get people asking me all the time, oh, you always get ready. You always get ready. You do your hair, you do your makeup all the time. I get ready. Or I stay ready so I don't have to get ready and be like, oh, shoot, I need to record a video today for this and that. when I pour into my appearance, how I do my hair, my makeup, and this and that, I build that into the time when I get ready, because then I'm like, no matter what, I can get on. I'm ready. I like the way I look. We're good to go. No, it's never perfect, but we just make it happen regardless. Because back to your point that you said earlier of like, oh gosh, I look back at all these other videos that I did in the past. I do the same thing on my videos. I'm like, why was I wearing that? Ooh, what was like, but I get over the way I look after.
100%. I could care less. It's not like I'm taking them down.
Yeah. And we get so wrapped up in the way we look that we forget that the message, the words that we have to say will likely be the turnkey and be the revelation for somebody else to get what they need. But we're so worried about us that we're not focusing on the other people that we get to serve. And I know for people in the real estate industry, you guys are serving people all day long. There's a lot of value that you can get out there and share, whether it's once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. Find something you can be consistent to, get on video, because this is where the connection happens over, miles or kilometers away. And that's how David and I connected. It's like, I saw his stuff. Great. Saw how he was on video. I'm like, he'd be great on the show. Vice versa. Once we met, he's like, you know what? You'd be great on my show. I don't think we'd have that same connection if we weren't on video to get the feel of the other person.
There's no way, right? Because that came through as a DM. Yep. And it came through as what actually looked like a legitimate DM. So we did our own little due diligence in the background before we even entertained it, right? And then said, wait a second, this is legit. Let's have a call. But the DM or the photo or the profile to be able to scope, not enough. It was once we actually got on a Zoom that we're like, or whatever we used when we did it, Google Meet, I don't know. But once we did that, you're like, oh, I could talk to her, we could have a conversation. And there's a lot of value to be able to bring out. It wasn't until we got to the video. So, okay. So we've now set the stage. Okay. We've talked about the fact that we need to be leveraging it. We've talked about the fact that social media is part of our world and that video is going to help us amplify our message and again, get known by people. And the underlying message here to much of this is that many people are very uncomfortable. So as we talk about on-camera confidence. So how do we get comfortable on camera?
Well, you just got to get in there. You got to start messing.
You hear that? Don't overcomplicate it, people.
Like, get in there and just start. Like, there are plenty of times where I'm like, oh gosh, I don't like this. I don't like that. And we're so self-critical rather than giving ourselves the grace of like, you know what? I'm going to start messy and then I'm going to build off of that. Now, the hardest piece is to go back, watch yourself, give yourself feedback, not criticism, because feedback comes out of love. Criticism has like just a lot of not a good energy around it, that with work and the word anyways. So give yourself loving feedback of being like, okay, this is what I did well. Start with one thing you did well. And then you can go down whatever list that you have of these are the things that I want to change. But don't wait for somebody else to give it for you, because you may not have people that are that bold in your life to be like, oh, well, you know what? Like, maybe you should change this. Maybe you should alter that. That's why a lot of people hire me. They hire me basically for the feedback. They're like, okay, I want your strategy. I want you to help me implement it. They go do it themselves and then give me the feedback so I know I'm on the right path, because I have nearly a decade in this industry. So that's where they're like, okay, this is where I know I'll get great feedback. But at the end of the day, I tell my clients the same thing. I'm like, you have to give yourself feedback, because you're going to see things that I may be like, oh, that's fine, because I've already gone through all of that mindset mess, because I've already started messy hundreds and hundreds of times. Because you're messy this season will be different in the next 6 months, will be different in the next 6 months at that. Because hopefully you're building on top of each video and everything that you do, looking just to get like 1% better every time. It's not 100% better, just 1%. And I think we can all agree 1% is doable.
Oh, yeah. This came up last night, but did you watch? I don't know if you're a baseball person or not. I was watching the World Series last night, and the manager for the losing team, the Houston Astros, Dusty Baker, was being interviewed, and he was, this was his big post-game press conference, and they're asking, how do you feel? And he was real authentic. Just, this is tough. This one hurts. And he went on for a few minutes, but there was something real powerful that he had said, and there's no way I'm going to say this verbatim as powerful as he did. And I think that it just came out from him being a veteran in the game. But he said something like, last year we came one game short of making it to the World Series. This year, we came 2 games short of winning the World Series. I'd say that's progress. And then that was where the interview ended. I'm like, oh, that was good. Like, that was good. Because you look and you go, you didn't come up with the result you wanted, but you got that little bit better, right? And as you just said it, that 1% better, you got that little bit better. So when we come back to camera, we say, like, what is the best way to get on there and get comfortable? You're saying, like, press record and just start talking.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
If you really want to go for it and you really want to be bold, just hit the live button on your Facebook or your Instagram and
that's what I said to people. You can't even take it back at that point.
You can't take it back. And here's the thing, even if you mess up, you can even get on. And it's like, give yourself permission to be like, hey, you guys, this is my first time getting on. I really have something I want to share with you. I'm going to go for it. So if I mess up, bear with me. You know how many people are going to relate to that?
Hell yeah.
Wow, me too. And they're going to watch you with a different level of grace, because most people that are watching you or even watch the recording of you going live, they're going to be like, I could never do that. Instantly. They're like, that's not for me. I can't do it. And whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So get on and give people, first of all, yourself, go try it. You never know until you try it. And then you're going to give people permission when you're not trying to be perfect. And I want to give you an example. And this is the best example that I've had today. I was going live with somebody on my Instagram, and she's gone live before, but all of a sudden we're right in the middle of an interview and she's looking off to the side, and I'm like, what is she looking at? And she like pauses for a couple seconds, which feels like forever when you're live. She comes back. She's like, sorry, I'm here. I'm back. And I'm like, okay. So when we're done with the interview, we are talking in voice messages in the DMs on Instagram. I was like, what happened there? She goes, you will never guess what happened. Right where my phone was facing, and I'm looking at, there's a window right behind it. And there is a guy stripping outside of my window. And I'm just like, what? And she's like, yeah, I think it was the gardener or something. It was hot. And he was taking off his shirt. And I'm trying to be like, really, out of all windows. And I started dying laughing. And I was like, look, next time that happens, you bring people in on that journey with you. If you mess up, it happens. If you're like caught off guard, the kids walk in the room being like, oh, I'm so sorry, you guys, you got to love it when it's live, and deal with that situation, but bring them in. Like, there's people that it happens to all the time. And that even goes back to the notes. Like when you have these, even feel free to look down. Okay, I want to look down at my notes to make sure I'm on track. Oh, right, I really want to hit this point. Mm-hmm. Oprah Winfrey uses notes. Ellen DeGeneres uses notes. Steve Harvey.
It's normal.
Use notes. And so bring people in when those little hiccups happen. And another little side tangent story is I remember I was live and I had a point to prove. I wanted to prove it so bad. I forgot it 4 times in a row. And I was still live and I was like, we're not getting off until we remember this. Every time it came, it went. It came back and it went. And then I finally grabbed onto it. And then at the end, I just proved the point of, look, I've been doing this for years and this happens. Guess what? You get to push through and it is what it is. And I knew that live right there would be a learning segment. And I've used that as examples plenty of times. But I'm saying these examples to you to know that you don't have to be perfect and it's going to happen. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Just, laugh it off and play with it. And then, you'll do better next time. But there's outside circumstances all the time that you have no control over. Quit trying to control those because you won't be able to.
How many times have you yelled at the car that drives by while you're live and they make all sorts of noise? Like, hey, quiet. As they're trying, knowing they can't hear you, but you're still live. There's so many times like you get to this comfort level where you're like, I don't mind taking my eye off that lens for a minute and coming back to it because there's enough confidence on the camera to say, I know where the buttons are. I know what I'm trying to say. If not, I've got some notes there to have a refresher. But much the same. To have that little bit of, or to have a lot of that, hey, bring them on the journey with you. What was that loud noise that just went by? Because part of what we talk about when it comes to, videos, watch the noises, watch the lighting, watch certain things, whatever it is. You can't control it all though. As you said, even the dog walks or the kids walking like, hey guys, how's it going? Listen, I'm just live with people right now. Give me a minute. Sorry guys, kids. It's real. It's authentic. Oh, he's got kids, right? Things like that. Like I remember we had a lady, I've told this story before to some of my groups when we're training on video, but we were doing this challenge, this sort of this training thing. And I challenged everybody to go live. So this lady goes live and she tagged us all. She goes live, she does her thing, she talks to the camera, she does it, and she goes to end. And you hit the finish button, right? She couldn't find it. She couldn't figure it out. So she's trying to figure it out. She's like, oh my God, where's the button? How do I end this thing? And she's live on camera trying to find the button. Now, instead of her starting to get the sweats and starting to get totally uncomfortable, like, oh my God, she starts laughing. But then she's messing around with it so much, she starts hysterically laughing. Now she is like crying, laughing, and you're watching her crying, laughing. And this thing went viral. Right. And I got back in touch with her after. I said, that was amazing. I am so proud of you. Like you did amazing. Like all this. How did you feel? She goes, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. I started laughing. I'm like, it was the best thing ever. And that right there is a perfect example for anybody, to come on. And just like you said, you can come on and say like, hey guys, this is the first time I'm doing this. Hell, you could go to the distance and say to people, hey, This is the first time I'm doing this. I'm going live right now. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. I didn't even have anything to say right now. I'm just going live. And hey, if you're watching this, can you give me some feedback or something? You can say, or I want you to go live too. Like, you can just play with it.
Yep.
Right. But I love that. Look, to everybody tuned in and Mal, as simple as it seems, just press the record button. Like, just do it and go. Right. And that's where you'll start to find your comfort level.
And the only reason you and I have so much comfort level on videos, because we've been on video, we've messed up thousands of times.
Oh, yeah.
We just learn to push through it because we know that the message that we have to share is so much more important than our little flubs. That's just it at the end of the day. Your message is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. And when you are over I need to look perfect and I need to sound perfect. When I go back and watch and hear myself, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't like that. But I'm getting 1% better every time.
Yep.
Nearly a decade into this, I still do that because I want to still grow. I'm still learning. There's people out there still doing it way better than I am. And I'm like, okay, I love what they're doing, and just kind of taking a little bit here, a little bit there, throw it into my sauce to make it, a different flavor next time and to see what I like. And that's constantly going to happen. But you and I have just messed up way more. That's why we're so comfortable.
Yeah.
Comparing themselves to us. It's like, you want to mess up about, 3,000 more times, and then we'll get to that point, like, by all means. And that's where I actually, I've left videos on my YouTube from when I was in the news, and I've messed up live in person on the news, saying words wrong. I've almost cussed saying a big one, like the F word on live television. It wasn't my fault. Somebody put it in the script and it was I have fallen. I have done so many things, but I keep some of those up there because I'm like, you know what? That's a good laugh. It was embarrassing at the moment for me, but I'm like, you know what? That's fun. Like, I didn't drop the F-bomb. Yes, I messed up that word, but at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. Laugh at yourself and move on.
That's it. Because, the other thing to that too is like what you did yesterday, it's already old.
Yes.
Let's be real. There's so much coming out today that, like, what happened yesterday, seriously. But tell me this then. I don't know what you're using right now to record on for the show today. And I'm going to kind of guess that you probably have a couple different tools that you use for recording. But what do you typically use to record your video? Is it just your phone? Have you got all these fancy schmancy setups and things that you put in your hand and you lock your phone into and tripods? Or is this like, you and the right arm kind of thing?
So I recommend, and I can totally send you a link. I recommend a ring light that I got off Amazon. It's like $90 and your phone can sit right in the middle. The lighting is superb for what you get for $90. And the setup that I have today, my husband's actually a videographer. So he works with a lot of people to do high-end video. So the camera that I have is like a very high-end camera. This whole setup that I'm actually recording on today is probably about $4,000. So not sustainable for average people.
Yep.
I love it because I'm like, if he's just going to have it in the closet, why don't you set it up for me? So that's what I use to record Zooms and things. But videos for like quick socials or reels or something for my IGTV or whatever that is, it's going to be my iPhone and it's going to sit in the little holder of my ring light that just comes as is. And so I'm not going to do the whole shebang. I'll use this setup for what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. We're recording a course and things like that, just to have that professional feel. But for the most part, I know that this is not feasible for most people, but most people have a smartphone and most people can afford a $90 ring light that literally looks like a professional light. Because on one side, I have my ring light. Another one, I have about like a $2,000 light that is professional grade that my husband uses. And to be honest, both are great, but the fact that the $90 ring light does just as well as the $2,000 one speaks volumes. And so,
is that one of those big ring lights, or is that like the miniature one that you could kind of take away and like bring to a hotel room?
You want me to bring around and show you?
You don't have to like that. I don't want to mess with your setup over here. Show behind the scenes and all that.
I'll put it back. So yeah.
Okay, so it's got one of the bigger ones. Yeah, cool.
18-inch, and so I like it because it's a little bit bigger. But
yeah.
Boom. Yeah. See, there's the 7. Now we're good to go. But I'm like, let's just bring it in the shot. Show the people. That's real.
Yeah, no, but listen, this is the thing. It's the same way. Like, for us, again, in the studio with the mic and with all the camera setup, like lighting setups that are here with all the different angles, for the proper whatever. It's one thing, but I will say, I've been asked the question many, many times, like, what are you using to record all the time? And how do you keep it so sturdy? And I'm like, literally, it's my right arm and it's the phone.
Yes.
It like for the most part, that's what it is. When we're doing this type of stuff, it's different. When I'm doing my trainings and, for groups and all that, it's a whole different setup. But when we're talking like you, me, and the average bear kind of doing a video and trying to do promo, bang, right? Or bang, whatever. You know what I mean?
It's such great quality.
They're amazing.
It's like whether you're an iPhone, Android, neither here nor there. I have an iPhone, and the fact that the 4K video is absolutely incredible. And it's like, I mean, I've recorded courses just on my phone just because that's all I had at the moment. And I was like, you know what? I need to get in there. I need to do it. Whatever. Something wasn't working. And it looks great and nobody knows the difference. So that's where people are like, they're like, I want the new iPhone or the new phone because it has an upgrade in the camera. You're using this thing anyway. So you don't need to buy a $4,000 setup unless you want to. Some people do. But we all have a phone and we just got to be able to utilize it and find good lighting. And say if you can't afford a ring light, for example, find good lighting near a window, like find good window lighting. You don't want lighting behind you because that's called being backlit and it doesn't look very good. Mm-hmm. And even speaking of the presentation piece, because we talked about it, in my office, I strategically picked the corner. So the door's in front of me. I can see when somebody's coming in. No one's going to come behind me. Mm-hmm. And this is, I know when I sit down at this particular spot, I can record absolutely anything because I know what's going to happen in this corner. Now, if I take my phone or something outside, then you deal with the elements, the honking, the cars, the people. And there's a time and a place for that because people want to see you on the move and out and about. But I love having like a staple spot. So then I don't have to sit there if it's something really important. My mind can focus on the content rather than me moving around and all the outside distractions.
Now, I've seen you're very much like me. You will walk and talk. You will have fun at an event and do it. You will do it in the car. And of course, at the desk. In terms of types of videos that people should be focused on creating. I mean, and we'll get into the social media thing for a second in a moment for these new video types of videos. But in terms of the videos that people should be creating, and when we think about salespeople, we think about, again, the real estate industry. Naturally, things like a virtual tour and taking people on that tour of a house or maybe the community. Is there anything else you can recommend to people? I mean, I guess the question becomes this. So much of this focus is usually business. We got to think about adding value, and we talk about adding value a lot. But what people miss out on sometimes is doing that raw, authentic. And yeah, I scoped Insta, the dancing at the party or whatever it is, right, with the girlfriends. You know what I mean? People miss out on these opportunities. What kind of things, I guess, there? Maybe the question is like, what kinds of videos should people be putting out? And I know you mentioned off the top with some of those 3 points that you did, the three main categories that you had mentioned. Again, to me, like if we talk about some of this, it's still business related. Maybe, I don't know. Insights into this? Does this question make sense at all?
I think I'm figuring out what you're saying. So number one, like a lot of people, this is why people don't on their social, they'll share other people's quotes, other people's things. They don't want to have pictures and videos of themselves. They're like, I don't want to be narcissistic. I've been called a narcissist for so many years, but even by like family members. And I'm like, okay, we clearly are not on the same page here. I'm not trying, my profile is about me. I have something to say, here it is. So that's why all these phones now have the turnaround camera feature. Do a little selfie video, like a little spin, or, just like, hey, this is where I'm at, you guys, check out this event. Like the one that you just mentioned that I was recently at. It was a music event, but even when you're in like a home or something like that, okay, it could be a little bit about business, but being like, you know what, I'm sitting in this home and, I'm really excited for the family that's going to move in here. And this is why I love selling homes to people. I love being able to be a part of this journey and helping them do X, Y, and Z and give your personal opinion, give your thoughts, give your ideas. Like not everybody's going to agree with them. And once you start putting yourself out there, just understand you may get some trolls, as I like to call them, in the comments or the DMs, and forget those people. Those people are wanting to bring you down to their level. Don't let them, just shake it off and understand it has nothing to do with you. But share your perspective, share your thoughts, share your ideas. In those the three pillar categories, for example, wellness isn't a business for me. Financial freedom is something I'm definitely big on. I don't teach it necessarily, but I talk about multiple streams of income all the time. Entrepreneurship, that is huge, and that will play into business. But for wellness, for example, that's a hobby for me. People will see on my Instagram story at 3:45 in the morning. I get up at 3:30. Go sit in my car for an hour, do my meditation, devotions, read before I go into the gym at 5 a.m. So I work on my mind, my spirit, then my body. And then I come back, pour into myself a little bit more, and then give my day to whoever I have on my meeting docket for that day.
What time do you do this at?
I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, Monday through Thursday. So I know that's like unheard of.
What time do you go to bed?
I'll be in bed at the latest by like 8:30.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My legs are still twitching by that time.
I've tested it out. And this is one thing that I've tested out big time. It's like, I know, and I have a freebie, a planner that's going to be coming out for people. It's called the Productive and Profitable Planner. Because I've been asked so many times, why do you get up that early? What goes into it? Well, I know where my most productive hours of the day are. First and foremost, between 8 a.m. and noon, when I can get everything I need done in there, I usually will get more than most people get done in a day in that block.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Noon to 2, I'll get a little bit done. But after that, my brain is like, you know what? We need to go focus on something else, non-work related, personal development, take a walk, go do whatever you need to do. That's kind of like mindless, that just gets you off like the work train. Right. But I know where my productive hours are. So in order for me to start at 8, I need to be able to get everything I need in so I can develop my, my mind, my spirit, my body, and get that out throughout the day, like done. And so that takes a couple hours for me. So I first started waking up at 5, then I went to 4, then went to 3:30, and people are like, how on earth? No, I do not have kids yet. So a lot of moms and parents are like, you'll change that when you have kids. I'm sure I will. But in the meantime, I know that how I pour into myself is going to leak out onto other people every single day. And I have a responsibility to be able to set myself up for success. So that's how I get into that piece. Now, I take people in on that journey. 3:30, walk into the car. They see me consistently walk into my car every day, go into the gym. Then if I have a revelation or some nuggets, it'll be like, 4:50. And here's some nuggets that I have. I'm in the gym. I'm bringing them in my process of what I'm learning.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. Wait, you're going to the car. You're storying?
I'm going in my car and I'm reading, pouring into devotions. Faith is really big for me.
But I'm saying, like, if you say you're going to show me doing that and going to the gym, is it like on stories?
On stories, yes.
Okay, and then you're at the gym and you got a nugget. Is it on stories or just go live?
It's typically on stories, yes.
Gotcha.
Stories or Facebook or Instagram are great behind the scenes. So great clarification. Now, if you have something a little bit longer, like a wisdom nugget that you're like, here's a revelation that I had, it's in the middle of the day, you can put it on your stories. But what I recommend is record like a 2 to 3 minute video, maybe 5 minutes. Then you can repurpose that, put it on your YouTube, your Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Allow people in whatever platforms that you're at be able to gain that wisdom from you. That's going to build up that authority and credibility, that it's not just about business for you. It's like, hey, I was reading today, or I was talking with somebody and this came up for me and I felt like this is really important to share. Let people in on those, because they get to hear your perspective. They're following you for a reason, for your perspective, your outlook. They're not following for other people. So when I see people sharing other people's quotes and stuff, and that's great, you're, number one supporter. But what about you? What about
you? Yeah, I love that. So okay, here, sorry, and I totally cut you off there. But I thought that was important because I love what you were sharing. It's like, document it and share these things. And I think that part of it too is there's this wondering or this loss of, but where? What do I do? So which app would I use? And I mean, again, I say that kind of jokingly, and I don't mean to poke at people about that, but it is a real question that people have around. So which one should I be going to? And I love the fact that we just kind of highlighted that, because that's very much me as well. And I say that to many people is, my stories, you want to see raw, you want to see like what's going on today, like back room kind of thing, go to my stories. That's legit. Whereas like, if we're going to go like on a video or do the podcast, we are set, we are prepped, we're in the studio, we were ready to rock. But stories allow you to be very raw. So moving from that, then we just brought up the Facebook and the TikTok, the Instagram. I wanted to bring up though, TikTok and Reels, right? Should people be focused on those now? I mean, I've obviously got my 2 cents on it. I think I would probably assume what you're going to go with here, but should people be focused on those? Is there one over the other? Should it be both? The TikTok, Reels? Give us your 2 cents on that.
Yeah. So I was against it for a while. I'm going to be fully honest. I'm like,
me too.
I want to do these lip syncs and dances. I'm like, this is so annoying to me. I'm going to be honest. And when I boil down to it, Instagram Reels, for example, I would choose that over TikTok. And here's why. Number one, the age demographic that's on Instagram is going to be older than TikTok. TikTok, the average age demographic of people who are, it's mainly for entertainment. Can people sell and buy and do things on there? Sure, they will. But Instagram has a higher age demographic of people that are actually in it for personal business, all the above. So I think it's going to be seen and taken just more fully. Now, the whole point of Reels on Instagram, for example, is to draw the traffic in. So it's a traffic draw. It's like, okay, here's I like to call it edutaining. So you have something that's, fun, but it's educating. And then you can bring people into the caption and give them a little bit more meat. But it just brings that entertainment factor. So I'll do like 1 or 2 a week. I tell people, if you can start with one, that's great, because you draw them into your page. Then your main content, your highlights, your IGTV, your stories, wherever you're most in, or all the above, which I recommend. Now they can see, oh, this is what David's about. Oh, interesting. Okay, I like it. So it's drawing them in with the attraction. And then they're like, oh, this is what he's really about. And then they start clicking around on your links and all of that. Now, TikTok is great. I know a lot of people have had great success on TikTok. I personally don't get on there because my best use of time is like Instagram, Facebook, and then I'll, put some stuff on LinkedIn and YouTube. But I'm not trying to spread myself too thin because I'm already on social media enough. I don't need to be on all the places all at once. Unless you hire somebody to do all that, by all means. But yeah, it just gets to be a lot, which I get that question a lot. Which one should I be on? So here's my order of what I like. I like Instagram first because the leverage possibilities. I like Facebook is great because of the groups. Clubhouse is great if you don't want to be seen, you just want to be heard. Those are great rooms to have. I know a lot of people like to get on Clubhouse first and then maybe go over to video. LinkedIn is great. It's a professional network. I'll be honest, LinkedIn's kind of boring to me. It's really stiff over there. Do I have a profile there? Yes, but it's a little stiff. And that's my order. And then YouTube is not really even social media at all to me. It's really a search engine.
It is, yeah.
So I like having a YouTube where I'm putting video from my Instagram or wherever I'm recording it, having it up on YouTube because that's a search engine and it's evergreen, meaning it's always going to stay there.
So what about lengths of videos then? Is there a average length or tell us about that. Cause I know a lot of people say like, how long should it be?
I actually just created a course around this called the signature soundbite method. And that came from being in the news where I would have to give backstory, I would have to do a full day's work for one or two stories to boil it down to 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and maybe 60 to 90. And you're thinking like, how do I take everything that I learned in the day and boil it down? Well, you got to get to the important nuggets that people want to hear, that they need to know. Call to action, draw them in. That's basically
call to action. Very important.
So when it comes to the length of the videos, I say short, sweet, to the point. So when I do my interviews on Instagram or I teach people to do a show, I say, if you can cap it at like 20 minutes, 30 max, great. But I love things that are like, if you can do anywhere from 5 to 15. And the reason is especially with like a short little nugget, like a show like this, a little bit, longer.
Yeah, we're going audio too. We've got sort of that whole thing going syndicated. Absolutely. Yeah, but I'm with you.
And you've built this brand. So as you build your brand, you can do longer. But as you're starting out, don't think you have to go, 20, 30, 60 minutes. Like if you need to go 5 and you get straight to the point, because again, you're going to have bullet point A, B, and C. And it takes 3 minutes, 5 minutes, go for it. The thing is, people want short, sweet, to the point because their attention span is constantly being grabbed at. So
that's where this thing started. Not the podcast, but Mindshare 101. Those first few videos, they were like a minute to a minute and a half, 2 minutes max, probably. I was like fast. They started to get traction. Then they changed because Instagram went, hey, you could do video here, but like max to 60 seconds. I'm like, I got to pack I can barely say my name in that time. But we figured out how to drive that message home in less than 60. And then they started to give you the IGTV thing. You're like, all right, I don't have to just do 60. Let's leverage IGTV, which now says I can go a little bit longer, but I'm with you. That's where it all started. And now this long form stuff, this is a whole nother level. This is years down the road.
Yeah.
Right to what you just said there.
Experience where you could probably rattle off for hours if you wanted to. Most people don't even know what they would talk about for X amount of time.
You just made a whole bunch of my listeners chuckle because they're well aware of that.
But if you can get short, sweet, to the point, like I really focus on helping people share their story in 30, 60, 90 seconds. You got that elevator pitch, you got a few minutes, you can get it rattled off if you're in an Uber talking to somebody, whatever. Like, how do you get that off? And they're like, wow. And basically you're leaving them wanting more. How do I get in touch with you? If they're asking you for something rather than you saying, here's the call to action, that's where you know you've won because you're like, ooh, that was good. They're asking me, hey, what's your number? Or what's this or what's that? I want to be in touch. That's the point we want to get to. But for the most part, most people talk too much and they say a whole lot of nothing that doesn't make sense and nobody wants to hear it. And they're more confused by the time you stop talking than they were in the beginning. How do we succinct that and get it straight down to the point? That's where the 3 bullet points, whenever you do a video, really help you stay on target.
Give me those 3 bullet points one more time.
3 bullet points. So you have your 3 pillars. So these are 3 pillars you want to talk about. Then you have the topics within the pillars. Whenever you want to talk about a certain topic, you have 3 bullet points and that's it. So those 3 bullet points, you want an example?
Well, no, okay. You sort of summed it up there, but it's having those 3 pillars, then having like little multiple bullet points within those, each one is the idea.
Yeah. Within a topic, whatever topic you want to talk about, say you want to talk about, I love having a backpack business as an entrepreneur, 3 bullet points, whatever the top 3 things you want to talk about, why people should care, why you're even talking. And then a call to action at the end of like, hey, click on the link for more, or visit me on my podcast for a deeper in-depth interview. Or, I have a masterclass coming up, or, I have an open house that's going to be at this place, or whatever your call to action to drive people to a website, meeting you and like engaging with you, whatever that may be.
Yeah. See, I mean, the way I approach that with those three pillars really becomes, what do I want them to know? Why should they care? And what action do I want them to take? Right.
Perfect.
So what do I want them to know? Why should they care? What action do I want them to take? And the action, call to action. It's absolutely imperative. Much the same we say that, you should have a captivating headline, something that's going to draw people in because they're like, oh, what's she talking about? What's he talking about? Now, what about how often we should be using video? What's your kind of thing on that? I mean, I get you. You could be on that stories like 10 times a day, likewise, and we could just rip off like whatever. But for those people that are not right now completely embracing it, and I mean, you got the people that will not turn it on a Zoom. To me, it's like, if you're on 10 Zooms this week, turn it on 10 times. Yes. But when we're talking about your personal social and your personal, approach to this whole thing with your branding, have you got a sort of a 2 cents on how often people should be turning this thing on or incorporating like an actual live video into their brand or even recorded video outside of stories?
Yes. So a great question. Most people, when they come to me and they want to start working with me, they're obviously, okay, I want confidence on camera. And then all the rest of that will be great because I know the sales, the people, the interaction, engagement will come. Minimum start with one a week. So I tell people, if you pick and do like, okay, you have a live show or you get live every week, train people. It's like your TV show. Train people. Okay, Wednesdays at noon, I'm going to be going live every Wednesday at noon. And then you can kind of give them a little teaser as to what topic that may be. So you can put a little graphic together on Canva. It's free, by the way. Great website to be able to make some, easy little graphics. But train people on when to show up for you. So have something. If you're going to go live, make it the same time every week, if possible. And then, it's based around, mindset. It's based around this and that, and give people something to look forward to. Because again, it's just like a TV show, like I mentioned. Like when you're watching a TV show, it's going to be on every new episode drops every Tuesday, 6 p.m. But here's the premise of the TV show. It's this, this is obviously the title of the show, but it's going to be just like you see on Netflix. They have like 3 words. It's going to be, happy, sentimental, and joyful, or it's going to be like a horror, a suspenseful thriller, so now you kind of get the feel of like, how am I going to feel when I show up to see if people want to show up for that? But if you just go live randomly, and if you have to start doing that, do it. But if you eventually want to build, obviously that consistency, build engagement, and have people show up for you, give them little teasers. If you're going to have a show on Wednesday, let them know on Friday. And then again on Monday, hey guys, join me on Wednesday for this, that, the other thing. You could do a little piece in your store if you want to say coming up, but at least once a week to start. And then once you start getting comfortable, honestly, I'm on my stories every day. Why? Because I've trained people to show up and be like, okay, this is what you're going to get from me. Right. But yeah, I mean, at least if you can get on anywhere from like 1 to 3 times a week, that's excellent, because then people are able to kind of get that good feel from you as to what's happening, what's on your mind, what do you have to share with them.
Okay, so listen, I've been tuned into this episode for like nearly an hour now, and I'm there. I got it. I got to be using video. Molly, you've convinced me to get on video. Still not comfortable. Like I'm still not that confident in myself. I'm not really sure that I know what to say. Like, what are they going to think about me though? I'm still a little bit like scared to put myself out there. What do you say to that?
I would honestly say, being like, I've been there, believe it or not, before I even got into all this, I've been there. And there's moments that I still have. Should I share this? Will people get any value from this? What is this? What am I even doing here? But I'm like, you know what? We're going to go live anyways. You have to be the one to convince yourself at the end of the day, like, you know what? This message matters more than how I'm feeling right now. And I know that's a big gulp and a big thing to get over, but your story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. And you know that whatever results you have right now, you want to be able to move forward and have different results and different things happen. Well, you got to make some different changes. And being able to be on video allows you to connect with people globally on a more intimate level. And especially, wherever you live, you may have a lot of restrictions with what's going on in the world, or maybe not a lot, but it's so much more leveraged when you're online and being able to share that, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever that may be. So I hear you. If you're still scared, but you're never going to know what it's like until you just try. You either press that live button, you press that record button, you put it up, and just realize that the people that are following you because they want to hear from you. They want to know what you have to say. So we build it up to be this big monster when it's really not going to really be that at the end of the day. And even if you need to tell maybe 5 of your close friends, hey, I just put a video up there, I really love your feedback, and have people come in and support you to build up that validation that you need. Because as much as we're like, oh, don't search for validation, validate yourself. we're still all looking for it. So ask people that you're close with in a group, being like, hey, can you show some love, or can you give me some feedback? I'd really appreciate it. So start building in like, okay, this is worth it. This is going to make a difference.
Very cool. Okay, fine. You got me. I'm going to start video.
Okay, good. I was
Tell
like,
me this.
what if he comes back again with something else?
Here's one of our favorite questions on the show. How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Ooh.
Day's over. It's 8:30. You're going to bed. Still don't get it. I'm knee deep in like a hockey game or something. But no, how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Gosh, that is a great question. I know it's a successful day when, number one, I'm able to serve at least one person. And then I'm also able to take time for myself to be able to reflect. That's how I know it's a successful day. Whether that's, well, actually, no, it's a journal that I have, like a book that I have where I'll sit down, whether that's reflection on what's happening, maybe like a problem solutions, like, whatever's coming up for me in my mind, sitting down and reflecting, because I've spent so much of my life just go, 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 go. And I'm not taking time to reflect to be like, okay, what's working, what's not. And I need that for me. And if I do that for me, that's ultimately going to serve more people to know, where's Molly actually at? Because we're so busy being bombarded by so many things. So serving at least one person a day and being able to taking time to reflect myself, that's a win for me.
Again, as you say, great question. Thank you. We've been asking that one for a long time as we come to the end of the show. And I will tell you, and again, for my my regular listeners, what I'm about to say here, but we are still batting 1,000. There's not a single person that comes on and you use the word serving. Oftentimes we'll hear the word helping or help. We will not at all hear the word money when it comes to how's it been a successful day. You're right in line with all of our other successful folks that, we are very grateful to have on the show. But it's also a great learning moment for all of us to look back and say that, success is not defined by money. And as we're sitting here, today, beginning in November, and I would argue with everybody, you got less than 30 days left in the year, and people kind of look and go, dude, like your calendar's a little off. And like, no, it's not. December's a time that we all want to sit back, enjoy, reflect, and kind of take time with family and loved ones. So now is go time. And as we look at business planning, a lot of what we've been sharing as well with people is you've got to be planning for more than just the number of deals you want to do, more than just the money you want to make. You've got to be really thinking it through and saying to yourself, what do I want to accomplish in life? How am I measuring myself every year to go, am I doing better? Am I getting that 1% better? And it's not just about dollars, but it is about how did you help other people? It is about self-development and not just, working out, but I would also say reading and feeding the brain. So it's a lot about these, your relationships with others, be it a significant other, your friends, with yourself. Right. So there's a lot of that comes into play that we need to be measuring ourselves on. And once again, though, when we look at success is not about money. It is so much bigger than that. So great answer you had there. And so my final question to you here would be just, I guess, maybe question, comment, statement, whatever, but give us some last words, please, to everybody and anybody that's tuned into the episode here so that they can really get out there and help themselves, grow their mindset, become a lot more confident with camera within themselves. And hey, get out there and just build a lot more mind share so they can get more market share. What do you say to everybody?
Yeah, I would, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. And I just love being able to talk about what it is that I love. And that's just highlighting who you are. At the end of the day, we get to highlight who you are because people are out there waiting for you to show up. I'm a firm believer that people are assigned to us. We're assigned to serve other people. And until you decide to show up, they're never going to find that person that they've really connected with. So, and I've mentioned this a few times, but your story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. Your perspectives, your ideas, your philosophies, all of that. And if the world has taught us anything, too many people aren't doing that. So the dominant and the loud ones are taking over. But speak up, share what you have to say because people want to hear it. They want to know and they want to hear from you. And the last piece is just start messy. Just get out there, press record, press live, start messy, ask some people inside of this group or I don't know, message me. And if I have time, I'll come in, I'll join, I'll give some feedback. I love being able to see people step into that, even if it's scary, even if it's messy, because you're starting something great. And those feelings that you're feeling inside of yourself are just those of like your brain's trying to protect you. But really, there is so much more fulfillment on the other end when you get to share the perspectives that you have. So again, thank you so much for having me on here today. This has been just absolutely amazing.
Oh, you've been absolutely awesome. Some amazing insights. And I'm really hoping that we've, convinced a whole new ton of people to turn that camera on, press that record button, and just embrace who they are and really get their message out there. Because look, if the world's teaching us anything right now, we heard this 3 years ago prior to everything that's taking place in our society, globally right now. We were told get on camera, and a lot of people did not. We were then forced into what we were the past number of months, which has forced a lot of people on camera. And big congrats to everybody who has taken that step to do so. There's still many that have not, and I think today we've at least taken a step in the right direction to try to encourage more people to do so for themselves, not for us, but for them. Mal, you put it out there to people, get in touch with you, whatever. Where can people find you? Where's the best place to go?
Probably the best place, and you'll see a lot more content, is on Instagram. So Molly_Trotter, Trotter. Check me out over there. Send me a message that you heard me on this podcast. You watched the live, whatever it was. But yeah, that's the best place to be able to get a hold of me. I'm always on Instagram.
Wicked. Go check her out. Molly, thank you once again. Grateful for your time today, all of your insights. And I'm looking forward to keeping the lines open with you. And I think we're going to see you again very, very shortly.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, David.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, listening to this on iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshow101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle for Realtors. This is a 31-page ebook packed with a ton of tips and tricks for you. Plus, there's a ready-to-go 90-day social media content calendar to help you build more mind share so that you can get more market share. And if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching to help you get to your next level, just get in touch with me and we'll set up a free consultation call to learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how I will help you do just that. Also, don't forget that our push to 100 is on, and you can have the chance to win a group coaching membership for 1 year valued at over $500. So be sure to please go to iTunes, subscribe to the show, rate us, and leave a review. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare 101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to once again thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't checked this out yet, just go to my site, mindshare101.com, and click on Marketing. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.